Ghoul friends, it's me, Adrian, or Ayden. Either way, I am still your host, and you, that's right, you are still listening to Susto, the podcast of ooky spooky scary stories centered on paranormal folklore from Latin American cultures. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me once again around the campfire, the cauldron, whatever you will, a fire receptacle. And if this is your first time, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I promise we will not, we don't curse and we don't hex within this circle. This is a safe coven for you. Y'all, Halloween season is... I haven't been as active on Instagram and TikTok because, let me tell you something. I think I said it last episode. I was preparing for this month to be that video of Lady Gaga saying, bus, club, plane, club, another club, no sleep. Literally, that has been me this whole month. I am loving it. You know, unfortunately, unfortunately, but not really, I do have a full-time job. So, you know, it's all just one big balancing act. I am merely a clown juggling for you all. And I hope that you are entertained and you are enjoying it. Because, I mean, I'm having a pretty good time. Even though I'm tired, I am run down, ran through, and dusty. I am having a great time, I promise you. But I want to lead by example. I am taking moments to take care of myself. So I will be posting photos and anything that I've gathered over these last few weeks from the events that I've been at. Again, you can follow on social media at Susto Podcast to see where I've been, where I'm going. So speaking of, the next few events that I have coming up is Phantom Fest at Sagebrush here in Austin, Texas on October 27th. That's a 2-day event, but like I said earlier, I'm taking moments to care for myself. So it's happening on the 26th and the 27th, but I will be there on the 27th, tabling, selling merch, and also doing a live collaborative show with my paranormal putas. And then after that, on October 31st, I will be sitting on a panel at the Kentucky Folk Life program. They Didn't Know We Were Seeds event. That is an online virtual event. It's free to attend. You can go ahead and, again, just follow me on socials to get all the information for that. November 2nd, I will be at Mex Americon. This is the second year in a row I will be with them. Free to attend. That's an amazing event. If you are into anything storytelling, art, comic books, anything like that from the Latin American perspective, make sure to go check out Mex Americon. I will be tabling there and I will be moderating a panel of spooky creators that are going to be there. So I highly suggest checking that out. And then one more after that, I will be at the Critical Mystery Studies Symposium at the University of New Mexico. So if you're in New Mexico, come out, check it out. I will be posting that information online. That's November 18th and 19th. I believe it's free and open to the public. But again, you can see that when I post it online. So very exciting. I'm taking Susto all the way to New Mexico. So thank you so much to everyone who has invited me to these events. And listen, I say this all the time. For me, spooky season is 365. I'm a 365 party ghoul. The events, the gatherings, they don't have to stop at the end of October. You know me, we can do this anytime. You all reach out to me if you see something you think that I should be a part of, or you think, hey, I think Ayden would have fun here, or Ayden could do something here. Send it my way, send me their way. Let's make it happen. I will say a lot of these events happen because people have seen Susto and they're like, oh, actually, I know these people, or I work with these people, or they send it to me and then I reach out to them. So it really, really does help when you all reach out that way. Speaking of reaching out and working with other people, I am on or have been on a few other shows. You can hear me on the Floaties for Krakens podcast on Locatora Radio. Upcoming will be Queer Town. I think this is a little early, so I hope I'm not spoiling this for them, but that will be out soon, and there may be more to come. I may or may not have recorded things. I'm just waiting on finding out whether or not I made the cut. You know what I mean? That's showbiz. You know, you never know if you're going to make the cut. Am I right? So fingers crossed, we'll see. There will be more. And like I said, I'm always open and willing to collaborate. I play well with others, okay? I promise I don't possess everyone I come across. Just only a few people. Anyway, those are all the updates. Thank you again so much for being here. As always, if you have your own scary story that you would like me to share on a Letters from the Beyond episode, you already know how to do that. DM on social media, email me, visit my website, 5-star review on Apple, in the comments on Spotify. And it doesn't have to be a written story only. You can also send a video, audio recording, photo, and then I'll post those on the socials. Before we go into this story, I want to thank my research assistant and now writer. You have been promoted. Jeffrey Doyle, thank you so much. He put this episode together. Wow, and honestly saved my life because like I said, I have been running around like a headless horseman this whole month, and he came in, saved the day. So huge shout out to Jeffrey. Everybody, give him a round of applause, please. Riotous, thunderous, roaring applause. And before we get into the story, I do just want to let people know this story contains mentions of sexual abuse and suicide. So again, one more time, listener discretion advised. With that being said, we are going to listen to the story of the ghost town of Misnébalam, Mexico.
Hey, what's up? I'm Charlie.
And I'm Tyler.
And we are Believing the Bizarre,
a paranormal podcast that dives into the unknown and the unusual every Tuesday.
We discuss hauntings, cryptids, aliens, UFO encounters, conspiracies, and more.
And we break down whether or not we find them believable.
All right, listen, if you're not paying for electricity, you're not paying for dinner.
Saw a terrifying looking face pressed to the window with gaping eyes.
Almost reached it when the laughter stopped suddenly, and a sound behind me made me turn around.
Sorry, I was gonna do it, but then I had SpaceX.
So we got you covered, whether you like horror or laughs, or both. We actually really hope it's both.
With over 3 million downloads, you'll be joining a bizarro community that we promise is more than just Mothman and our parents.
We even take creepy stories from our listeners and turn them into episodes.
Check out Believing the Bizarre on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Believing the Bizarre, a podcast as bizarre as you are.
In the dry scrub forests of northern Yucatan, in a land spotted with cenotes, you'll find many historic haciendas. One of them was abandoned and has become known for ghost activity. Hacienda Misnébalam, Mayan words for jaguar tail, was a small town set up to grow and harvest henequen, a type of agave. The collection of buildings included the main hacienda house, smaller workers' buildings, and a Catholic church. The hacienda that would eventually grow to house 170 people was set up by Fidencio Marquez in 1900 to take advantage of a boom in the popularity of henequen in the Yucatan. This plant had been grown by the Maya people for thousands of years and became very profitable for Mexican settlers in the region. It could be crafted into extremely strong ropes and fibers, so it was valuable for the Mexican government and became an export industry to other countries. Because the plant grows so well in the Yucatan, many haciendas were set up to grow the crop, similar to plantation monocultures around cotton in the United States, a practice in which crop growers plant only one species in a field. With the boom in the economy, there was also a boom in crime. Many of these haciendas, Misnébalam included, were far off of the main highways, making it easy to sneak up on and attack unsuspecting people. In October 1921, Fidencio, his son, and a worker were ambushed on one of the back roads traveling back to their hacienda. The attackers left them for dead and fled after stealing their belongings. The three travelers survived the initial attack and were able to return to the hacienda. Many report that Fidencio died upon returning to Misnébalam. Ultimately, his family fled their home out of grief and fear and left the foreman in charge of the operation to continue growing the henequen. Many reported seeing Fidencio after his death, walking the grounds, keeping an eye on his land. His spirit was unable to rest as the operation of the hacienda was no longer up to his standard. Under the foreman's control, Hacienda Misnébalam took a dark turn. The foreman, drunk with his new power, was abusive and controlling of the people who lived and worked there. One resident, a 9-year-old boy named Julian, often called Juliancito, received the worst of the abuse. After being assaulted and violated by the foreman, Julian found the courage to go to the priest of the hacienda and report what was happening. The priest, for fear of angering the foreman and leaving his good graces, instructed Julian to never tell anyone about what was happening. With no escape from the abuse, Julian was desperate to make it end. That night, the young Juliancito hung himself from a tree in the main courtyard of the hacienda. It is said the boy's soul, unable to rest from the suffering he lived through, joined Fidencio in walking the grounds of the hacienda. Visitors report seeing the young boy's ghost at night in the main courtyard playing with a ball. Others say they can hear the laughter of a child when no child is nearby. Unfortunately, Juliancito would not be the last ghost to haunt the grounds. The priest who Juliancito confided in was never able to recover from the guilt of what happened. He continued to regret his failure as a leader in the faith and a protector of the community until his death. His soul can still be seen walking the grounds of the church and nearby buildings, now appearing in solid black. The priest haunts the grounds, often referred to as the Black Monk. When his silhouette appears, people report hearing strange cries and unexplained noises. As the popularity of Hennigan dwindled in favor of artificial materials, the population of Misnébalam shrunk as well. People stopped traveling to the hacienda, and the residents grew more and more fearful of the spirits that inhabited Misnébalam. By 2005, the hacienda was completely abandoned. With no residents left, nature began to take over. Many of the buildings, once bustling with people, now have plants growing through their foundations. People from the nearby city of Mérida now tour the ghost town. Some even use the ruins for recreational fun. Still, others have taken note of the presence of spirits and have chosen to start using the grounds for rituals and religious practices. Some of these are meant to bring peace to the ghosts, like an altar to Juliancito, which regularly has fresh flowers. Others are presumed to be more nefarious, with runes, candles, and other tools left behind that are often associated with religious cults that seek to do harm. This is not the end of the story for Misnébalam, though. A group of indigenous Mayan people seeking to obtain protected land have claimed Misnébalam. As property developers push them out of their homes close to the highway, the relative isolation of Misnébalam offers them a place to live in peace. Perhaps they will be able to bring balance back to the lands of Misnébalam after 100 years of suffering. Welcome back, Ghoul friends. Thank you again so much to my research assistant and editor and a writer, I guess now. He really took initiative. Should I keep him, y'all? Jeffrey Doyle, thank you so much for helping me put this episode together. And thank you all for listening to that. So let's dive into some of these sources. The first one we have here is from a website called yucatantoday.com. And it looks like a touristy kind of website, but there's also some really good information here. This was published in 2023, September. It's titled Connect with the Great Beyond in Misnébalam. And they're kind of just letting people know, again, about Misnébalam. And this says, if you're anything like me, you're likely counting down the days until October and November. That's us right here. Eagerly anticipating the festivities of Hanal Pisan. Ooh, what's that? Hanal Pisan, or Day of the Dead altars in Yucatan. I guess that is how they identify that, or it's like similar to that. That's pretty interesting. It says the right way to set up a Finados or Hanal Pisan or Yucatecan Day of the Dead altar may vary greatly within the state depending on the region, each family's tradition, and several other factors. In fact, it's easier to talk about what doesn't go on a Hanal Pisan altar than it is about what does. You know, it's always a school day here on Susto. Okay, so again, this continues. That's one of the things they celebrate. It's the perfect opportunity to share traditions with family, honor our departed, and why not get a few scares along the way. Who wrote this? Where is the name of the author here? Because I feel like this person gets it. Okay, author is Regina Zumaraga. Thank you, Regina, for posting this. Communicologist specialized in food and product photography. Amazing. So this continues. Just 18 kilometers away from Merida, you'll find the perfect place to immerse yourself in the mystery and nostalgia of these dates. Step out of your routine with a spine-chilling visit to Misnébalam, a well-known ghost town in Yucatan, located within the jurisdiction of Santa Maria Yache, about halfway between Merida and Progreso. Are you familiar with the history of this unique place? Well, now we are. So as said, this goes on to talk about how people tour it, but there's something else in here that I wanted to read. It says, it's the legends surrounding Juliancito that have especially attracted supernatural enthusiasts to Misnébalam. It turns out that Misnébalam and its long abandoned buildings have been a popular destination for both airsoft and paintball players. So when I mentioned recreational fun in the story, people really use these places for recreational fun. Again, airsoft, paintball, who occasionally record videos of their games. One of these recordings ended up being widely shared because behind the action, it was possible to make out the figure of a boy who, of course, was associated with the legend of Juliancito. I want to say Jeffrey said that he tried looking for this video and he could not find it. Also, it's not tagged or hyperlinked in this article, whereas several other things are. So I think maybe also Regina also had a hard time finding that video. So if anybody sees that out there, send it to me. I'm going to try really hard to find it, and if I do find it, it'll be on the social post for this episode. This continues. Unlike Don Fidencio Marquez, whose existence is well documented, there are no reliable records of Juliancito's life or death. As for Don Fidencio G. Marquez, he actually died of natural causes in 1940. The events of 1921, which aren't easy to independently verify, would have been only a failed attempt on his life. So it's possible that he was actually attacked on the road, but according to documents, he died of natural causes. He was not ambushed and murdered, as legend says. But as we know, many times these legends just kind of take a life of their own and they run amok. This says, the truth of the matter is that the population of Misnébalam dwindled until it was completely abandoned in 2005, which is very recent. Rumors attribute this event to the paranormal occurrences, although it's very likely that it was due to the water shortage in the region. Very interesting. So this article kind of immediately demystifies what was happening with that. So it's a ghost town, yes, by definition, but is it a ghost town? You see what I'm saying? You hear what I'm seeing, you know? Yeah, so there's a very logical explanation as to why it is a ghost town now, but there's still so much legend that surrounds it for whatever reason. The next source that we have here is from pinkplankton.com. It's titled Misnébalam, a haunted ghost town in Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. And this has a ton of amazing pictures of these now ruins, I guess you could say. Wow, this place you can tell was probably very beautiful in its heyday. There's a short written entry here, but this is mainly photos, so huge shout out. I can see they have an Instagram here. I will be tagging them in those photos as well. But just so that I have it here on the episode, it's pink_plankton on Instagram. They wrote here, Misnébalam is an abandoned ghost town near Merida, Mexico. It was inhabited from around 1910 to 2005. It was once a lively little town due to the production of henequen, a plant used to extract fibers and create textiles. In 1921, the head of henequen production, Don Fidencio G. Marquez, was attacked and murdered. Again, we see that murdered, and we just learned that that is not necessarily true. Possibly an attempt on his life, but they did not succeed. This continues, it is said that since then, ghosts and other paranormal activity began to scare the residents, so much that in 2005, they left the town for good. I really want to know what the cherry on top, the straw that broke the camel's back, the final straw, whatever. I just want to know what that last thing was that made people decide, okay, we got to get out of here. There's too much going on. Too spooky, too scary, no good. This continues, the henequen industry was booming at the time, but eventually fell due to the invention of more cost-effective synthetic materials. This probably had something to do with the town's abandonment as well. But a wander around the pool and courtyard area shows what a thriving town this once was. You can find Misnébalam on Google Maps. Here are some photos I took in February 2021. Oh, also, this website, the tagline says Travel and Festival Media by Jessica Jessica Devnani. So Jessica, thank you so much for these beautiful pictures. I will be tagging you on the social post. These are really cool. This also kind of reminds me of, if y'all have ever heard me talk about that abandoned building or mansion in Monte Alto, Texas, which is right next to where I grew up. These pictures kind of give me that vibe. It kind of looks like this. Like there's a lot of just exposed foundation, just like open walls, open doorways with like no internal structure, probably very dangerous to venture into. And of course, there's tons of graffiti all over the place. There's like vines and grass growing up the walls of these stained, graffitied buildings. It looks really cool. Just to give you a visual description now, and you'll see it again on the social media post. Wow, those pictures are amazing. The next source that we have is from a website, theyucatantimes.com. And this is titled, "This is the story behind Misnébalam, the ghost town of Yucatan," by Sofia Navarro. This is published in June 2023. So a couple months ago, basically, really. And here it's a pretty short write-up, and they're just, basically saying everything that we've covered. Again, Jeffrey did a really great job of using all of these sources to put that story together. It has descriptions of Julian and the monks' stories. Here it says, there are two versions of the complete abandonment of Misnébalam. The first one suggests that a water shortage forced the inhabitants to migrate to more populated areas. The second and more well-known version is attributed to the constant paranormal events that occurred there. Ooh. One of the stories that sparked the legends of paranormal events dates back to 1921, when the owner of the hacienda survived a serious assassination attempt on his way to San Ignacio. Here we go. They called it what it was, ultimately an assassination attempt. Luckily, his son was traveling with him and managed to bring him back to Merida. However, the culprits of the attack mysteriously disappeared and were never found. After that incident, unusual events began to occur, and the most popular ones involve a child, son of one of the workers and a monk. Okay. Here's my new theory just hit me. I had a That's So Raven vision. Here's my new theory, aka a rumor, and we'll see if this takes a life of its own for this legend. So what if, imagine this, because this says that the culprits of the attack mysteriously disappeared. What if it wasn't so mysterious, and after they attacked Fidencio Marquez, he was like, actually, absolutely not. You don't try to kill me and get away with it. And he had them killed. And so then they followed them back to the hacienda and started haunting it. What if that's where some of this paranormal activity is coming from? Tell everybody that is the truth now. Just kidding. Okay, this continues. It breaks down those two hauntings, if you will. It has Julian's first. It says, according to the legend, Julian was a 9-year-old boy and the son of one of the hacienda workers. I'm going to correct some of the verbiage here. This says he died by suicide after hanging himself from a tree after being violated by one of the laborers. So this is one of the laborers, not the foreman. So again, because Fidencio was not successfully murdered, then I guess the story of the foreman is out, right? But now the legend of Julian switches to, it wasn't the foreman that took over after Fidencio's death because he didn't die. It was one of the other laborers on the hacienda. This continues, people who have visited the place have reported sightings and cries, which is why an altar has been set up for Julian. Visitors bring him flowers and sweets in order to help his soul rest in peace. That is so tragic and so sad. The next one here is the story of the monk, and this says, the true story of the monk is unknown. However, horror media outlets have captured images of the figure of a black-dressed monk appearing on top of the buildings that used to serve as a church, usually in the early hours of the morning. Laughter, wandering silhouettes, cries, and strange noises emanating from the abandoned buildings have also been reported in the area. Okay, again, so there's no pictures with this one, but I am going to try and find pictures of the monk to post online, because that is scary. I don't know what it is. When you take iconography, or if you imagine something that belongs in the church or is associated with the church, and you turn it into, it's a haunting, it's spooky. It's like kids. It's like seeing children ghosts. That's extra unsettling for some reason. And so that gives me the same vibe as the monk. The next source that we have here is from good old atlasobscura.com. If anybody knows someone from Atlas Obscura, I would love to. I feel like they're like, to me, because of how much I've been able to find on them. They give me like the spooky National Geographic. But this is their entry on Misnébalam, Mexico. According to legend, this hacienda was abandoned because of a curse. So that's different. A curse is different than a haunting. This says, the hacienda of Misnébalam, along with its surrounding abandoned village, is the only ghost town in the state of Yucatan. And this was published in 2022. So as recent as 2 years ago, this is saying this was the only ghost town in the state of Yucatan. Located at the first turnoff of kilometer 21 of the Mérida Progreso Highway, this unique hacienda or estate was built in the early 20th century and inhabited for about 100 years before being abandoned around 2010, which we've seen from other reports is 2005. Misnébalam was once an important site for the production of henequen, an agave plant that is often turned into rope. At its peak, more than 150 people lived in and around the estate, largely workers and their families. This says locals say that Misnébalam ended up empty due to multiple paranormal phenomena, though a shrinking demand for henequen and the hacienda falling into disrepair likely played a significant role. Again, demystifying those rumors. This continues, according to people who have visited it, it seems to be stopped in time, which, it can be assured, is totally true. Vegetation has taken over the place and time has damaged the structures, making them spookier. The place is the victim of multiple religious cults, which is reflected in the runes on the walls and also in the remains of candles and some instruments for religious purposes. But don't worry, it's not all strange cults. The place is often used for events such as airsoft and gotcha battles. This says know before you go. The place is isolated, so it is advisable to bring enough water and materials. Also take into account that it is an area without cell phone coverage, so be careful in case of an emergency. You know, I was about to say, oh, it would be fun to go visit this place. No, the one thing I cannot do without is cell phone service. And that's not because I am an iPad baby and I need to hunch my back over and stare at my screen every second of the day, which is also kind of true, mind your business. But what if something happens? There's no one to call, not even, again, oh, I'm more scared of the living than the dead. What if some deranged person, some sinister evil person tries to attack? Like those criminals that tried to attack Fidencio Marquez show up and they try to, kill me, and I have no cell phone service to call for help. Or if someone gets injured or you get trapped, whatever, that is a no for me. So, I mean, I guess I could be convinced, if we went with a big enough group, but that is, the cell phone thing, I need to be able to call for help. This continues. Also note that the road is dirt, so you have to be very careful. It is advisable to go on one of the regular expeditions. Oh, that's right. They do tours. Okay, perfect. So you go on one of the regular expeditions, although you can also visit on your own, as long as you ask permission from the caretaker to enter the hacienda. It is not necessary to ask permission to explore the village, since it is outside the area of private property. Yeah, I would love to do one. Okay, yeah, one of the tours I could do. Like I said, if it's a big enough group, but also someone who knows the area. I'm sure they have radios versus cell phones that they can use in case of emergencies. But yeah, that's really cool. So this entry, it says that this was published in 2022, added by the Atlas Obscura user Rad Lizard. Rad Lizard, thank you so much for putting this in. I definitely want to go. The last thing that I have here, and I will find a way to post the link. I could probably post the link in the description or the notes of this episode, but I'll also post it directly to Patreon for Patreon subscribers, which also, if you are a Patreon subscriber at the mid to higher tiers, then you get access to the Susto Google Docs with direct links to all of these sources, where I will also be posting this video. But again, this is a video. It's just exploring a ghost town. This was uploaded by Sugar Free Traveler 2 years ago, and they posted a video, I think, of one of the tours. They said, while in Yucatan, I decided to join a local tour company. There you go. Mochileros Yucatan, on a tour of an old abandoned ghost town and the hacienda in Misnébalam, Yucatan. Join me on this episode as we explore the abandoned ghost town of Misnébalam at night, which includes a few houses and a church. So in case you're interested in seeing what that tour may look like, it's very dark. I'm scrolling through it. It looks very creepy, very demonic. Not like these other tours. Yeah, that would definitely be something that I would love to do. Okay, there are two more actually. So this one is from, it looks like a website called indignacion.org.mexico. This is an entry. It says, researchers present amicus curiae supporting the right of the Union of Residents of Chablecal to guard the forest. This says researchers from 15 Latin American countries embrace the struggle of the Union of Chablecal inhabitants. They claim that the inhabitants have the legitimate right to continue being a Mayan people and to protect their mountains. The mentions that it says here of Misnébalam, it says, I'm skipping ahead, but this says the annoyance increased when they began to sell the common use forests, that is, those that were for the use and enjoyment of the entire town, not just the ejidatarios. Quote, Chalbecal is an indigenous town, and the ancestral forests have been and continue to be part of our territory, end quote. The document states. This reflection encouraged them to take possession in 2014 when they began their struggle of the Misnébalam forest, which is made up of 286 hectares, which the inhabitants have described as, quote, the last corner of the ancestral territory of Chablecal. And a hectare is a metric unit of area equal to a square with 100 meter sides. That is 10,000 square meters and is primarily used in the measurement of land. Also, I probably edited that out, but the first time I read it as hectares. I don't know if that happens to anybody else who is bilingual, but you dip into the other language sometimes. This continues. A final mention of Misnébalam says, the importance of this mountain is that it is a space considered sacred due to the presence of cenotes and pre-Hispanic mounds. In 2018, they held a ceremony at the foot of the Nohoch Mule, or main mound, to give thanks to the fight. The description of the ceremony can be seen in the document. Likewise, Misnébalam is also important since its young custodians consider it a kind of ecological reserve with a diversity of plants. As we spoke about earlier and is all over those pictures, again, it is covered in plant life. This says the kinds of plants is medicinal, forestry, timber uses, etc. So there are tons of ways to use this plant life, this nature that's taken over. And native animals such as the yuya, the deer, the wild turkey, among others. So definitely this place needs people that will make it sustainable. Okay, and the final source here is a chapter from a book. The chapter is Invisible Maya Communities, Indigenous Territory and the Nation State in the Yucatan by Jose Angel Coyoccu, translated by Ellen Jones. And this is in the book Beyond Mestizaje, Contemporary Debates on Race in Mexico, published in 2024. Wow, very, very recent. I'm going to read some of this that mentions Misnébalam. So this section in this chapter says, defending territory in the old northeastern Henequen producing region. Chablecal, as we mentioned earlier, is a Maya community located in the northern part of the municipality of Mérida, which has the administrative status of precinct. Since 1990, property developers have had their eye on its land with a view to building luxury residential developments and shopping centers. Great, because we need another Dave & Buster's. The area has recently acquired commercial value because it is near the highway connecting the state capital to the port of Progreso. As a result, the current Ejido commissioners, working hand in hand with officials from instructions like the Agrarian Ombudsman and the National Agrarian Registry, have sold off much of Chablecal's land. In order to reclaim their right to the territory, the community set up the Chablecal Residents Union in 2014. Since the establishment of the union, residents have reclaimed Misnébalam lands, which take their name from an old Henequen-producing hacienda. So there's that one. This next part says, the agro-industrial production of Henequen led to the Maya people living in the haciendas and surrounding villages gradually leaving corn farming behind and instead taking up grueling jobs on Henequen farms, fenced-off areas in need of a permanent labor force. In spite of this, the agave monoculture did not wipe out either the milpa workers or the scrubland, as maps of the Misnébalam hacienda dating back to Porfirio Díaz's time clearly illustrate. For this reason, when the revolutionary regime began to distribute land after the collapse of the Porfiriato, both scrubland and Henequen farms passed into the possession of Maya workers. Oh wow, this is really cool. There is a detailed map of the Misnébalam hacienda. This is credited to Carlos Miramon, Yucatan in 1902. The area labeled Monte indicates that the scrublands were not destroyed, or at least not entirely. Oh, I am saving this picture. That is so cool. This whole chapter, like it says in the beginning, it's talking about indigenous territory. I guess the struggle for claiming or reclaiming lands, just land grabs in general. To end it on such a high positive note, right? Welcome back, ghoul friends. Thank you once again for joining me for another episode of Susto. Once again, I have several events coming up. Those are the Phantom Fest, the Kentucky Folklife program that didn't know we were seeds, Mex Americon, Critical Mystery Study Symposium. Again, follow my socials at Susto Podcast on every platform for any and all updates on the show. If you know of any events that you think that I should be present at, please send my information to the event organizers or send the events to me. I am always open to showing up, having a good old spooky time, or even just to show up, show face, and table and let people know about Susto. Again, you can listen to me on other episodes. You can catch me on the Floaties from Kraken's show, Locatora Radio, Queer Town, and possibly some other ones I'm still confirming they're going to be there. Once again, if you have your own scary story to share with me, you can do so by sending it via DM, 5-star review on Apple, comment on Spotify, my website. You can also, if you catch full moon rainwater, if you throw it over your left shoulder and then you sprinkle ashes from incense over it counterclockwise and you say my name 3 times, you say the story into the puddle of water and it'll come to me in a waking dream. Aside from that, it can also be a photo, video, recording, anything you think that is spooky that I should share. I will do it either stories, Letters from Beyond episode, or on social media. Before I give a huge, big thank you shout out to patrons, I do want to let you all know that there are changes happening with Patreon. So Patreon is having people switch the way that they bill. Apple is being Apple and they're trying to get more money. So they are changing the way that they bill people. So there is a workaround. If you sign up for Patreon at patreon.com/sustopodcast through the Patreon app, it's going to force you to pay, I think, on like the day that you signed up. I'm not exactly sure. The way that I have it now is everyone gets charged the first of the month. But with Apple, if you sign up in app, I think you have to pay the day you get billed the day that you sign up for. And also they are scraping a whopping 30% off the top for themselves because, you know, they're a struggling small business and they needed sarcasm. But Patreon does not take nearly that much. I think what I heard Diosa and Mala from Locatora Radio say on one of their recent episodes, Patreon only takes about 8%, which is a lot nicer to you and me. So the workaround there, again, I heard this from Diosa and Mala on Locatora. The workaround is if you want to sign up to be a Patreon subscriber, which I appreciate any way that you do it, but you can sign up on the actual Patreon website, meaning you can do that on a computer, your laptop, desktop. If you go on your browser on your phone and sign up that way, the only thing that's changing is that if you download the Patreon app and you sign up through the app, they're making you pay with like your phone if you're on Apple. But after you sign up, you can still access your account on the app. It's just the signing up portion that's weird. And if you don't care about any of this, that is also fine. You can visit patreon.com/sustopodcast. Either way, I want to give a big, huge shout out to this episode's Patreon subscribers. You are Liza, Sadie, Rachel, Alejandra, Luther, April, Mario, Eva, D, Josette, Sam, Angela and Co, Mandy, Jules, Lori, Jeannie, Desiree C, Anna C, Ashes, Neresa, Rachel, Azucena, Rios, Marlene, Chata, Lainey, Desiree A, Cynthia, Serena Flamenca, Belinda, Archer, Ricardo, Sarah, Anastasia, Vanessa, Marisa, Nieves, and Monica. Thank you all so much for your support. It truly means so much to me. It helps me keep Susto going, and I can never thank you all enough for your support via Patreon. If you're interested, again, visit patreon.com/sustopodcast. You get the episodes early and ad-free. Depending on which tier you're in, there are certain benefits. Once a month thank you notes, surprise merchandise, gifts, and giveaways. Speaking of giveaways, if you've made it all the way to this episode, I have one final giveaway for the month of October. If you are a Patreon subscriber, I'm giving away, and I will post this online, I'm giving away the Owala Halloween Color Drop bottle. It is a glow-in-the-dark bottle with ghosts all over it. It is so cute. I am obsessed with it. Of course, I got myself one, but I got a second one to give away to Patreon subscribers. So this is going to be a giveaway for Patreon subscribers at any paid level. So starting from $3 up, if you are a Patreon subscriber, I'm giving away this bottle. I'm going to go ahead and do this giveaway until, it's going to be a quick one, until Monday the 28th. I will pick someone. I will probably have already posted about this online, so you can find that on there. And yeah, I'm going to give it away to one lucky winner, someone who is a Patreon paid subscriber. So thank you for listening all the way to the end of the episode. And if not, then maybe you saw this on social media. Either way, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you had a fun time with me today. I will talk to you in the next one. Until then, no te asustes. Bye.